Tonight I'll read Chapter 14, Suzy Longlost. We are, said Sam, crestfallen. We are, said Emily firmly. We'll trade the treasure for what she knows about how to get into the Abbey. Sam's eyes widened as a thought struck him. I wonder if that's what the Harrows are after, he said, the hoard. Emily looked at him in surprise, then had to backpedal swiftly to avoid the linnet colliding with a freight barge. The barge belatedly blew its horn in warning. I hadn't thought of that, she admitted. What did she say, that dreadful woman? Something about a king and a glorious future. Sam slapped his paddle on the water. It must be the treasure they're after. They think we know about it. Emily nodded slowly. That's it, she said. So we are on the same side in trying to stop the monks' plot. And until we find out about the Kingstone, they were happy just to keep us out of the way. She grimaced, but when they realised that we knew about that too, they decided they had to take more drastic action. Sam said miserably, Sorry, Em, I've got into serious trouble this time. Emily flicked water at him. Don't be daft, Sam. It's not your fault that our head teacher was trying to kill us. She's the frog sucker, not you. Sam looked more cheerful. Anyway, here we are, he said. They had safely crossed the last stretch of the main canal and entered the beginning of Market Crescent. It was a wide canal with stoneways on either bank and flanked by curving terraces of tall, attractively whitewashed Frederikian-style buildings. Lines of small family boats were tied up on either bank. So, if we tell Cutthroat Suzy about the treasure, do we also tell her about the Harrows? Emily considered this. Well, if she plays fair, then we will. If not, then... She shrugged. Sam nodded. It's up to her then. So what does she look like? How are we going to recognise her? I've only seen her once, said Sam. A friend pointed her out to me when we were at the Millers' Parade last year, and even then she was in the distance. She's tall, she wore a leather jacket, and had her hair under a black scarf. Siggy told me that it was because she has red hair, which really stands out in a crowd. Not so good for a thief. She's quite old, maybe 18 or 19. Anything else? I think that she and her crew use pinwheels to get around. Pinwheels were small 1- or 2-man water scooters with an upright steering column and a small foot deck above a single paddle ball. Although they were fast and manoeuvrable, they required considerable skill to use, as they were unstable and prone to dunking their pilots unceremoniously into the water. Sam scratched his temple thoughtfully. Oh, and apparently she's good with throwing knives. Emily sighed. Do you think this is going to work? She sounds terrifying. Sam shrugged. If you want to help your old dad out, she's the one we need to talk to. Let's get to finding her then. As they paddled around the curve of the crescent, the floating market itself came into view. Floating shops, restaurants, stalls and fast food skiffs lined both sides of the canal, as well as in the strip down the centre of the waterway, leaving 2 clear lanes either side for boat-borne shoppers and other water traffic. Shoppers on foot crowded the stoneways and bought from the boats tied up against the banks. It was a noisy, bright, chaotic scene, frantic with the hustle and bustle and general clamour. Smoke and steam rose into the sky from the restaurant and fast food boats. Sam sniffed the air. I can smell smoked sausages, he sighed, and eel and chips, and pie and mash. Emily rolled her eyes. I'm sure we can get something to eat soon. I'm starving, said Sam. Tell you what, if you spot Cutthroat Suzy first, I'll buy you eel and chips. You're on. They paddled on slowly, keeping to the far left to be out of the way of the main flow of water traffic. It was nearly midday, and the sun cast sharp shadows down between the larger boats that were ideal hiding places. You know what, mused Emily. When I came here last week, it was really quiet, and most of the shoppers were on the stoneways. She looked around. Today the market was fuller than she'd ever seen it, as if people had been let out of their houses for the first time in months and were determined to make the most of it. It was that creature, said Sam suddenly. That's what people were afraid of. Now it's gone, they've all come out again. Emily looked at the crowds of smiling, excited shoppers, then up at the sunlit sky. It's like a shadow has been lifted from them. She watched a balding, middle-aged man wearing smart, casual clothes, trying to manoeuvre his expensive 6-seater launch into a too narrow mooring between a fast-food skiff and a greengrocer's boat. Oblivious of the other boats, he poured on the power, churning up the water behind him into a boiling white plume and forcing his way in, his bumper tyres squeaking along the hulls of the other boats. The fast food skiff rocked violently, and coals from a charcoal grill spilled onto its deck and started smoking. Having successfully barged his way in, Smart Casual Man turned off the power, and he and his wife surveyed their achievement with pride. Said Sam urgently. Wardens! A patrol boat was cruising down the opposite channel. 2 wardens stood on the deck, scanning the crowd. Do you think they're looking for us? Probably, us or Cutthroat Suzy's crew. She looked around for a hiding place. There was a dark cave under a nearby jetty that looked ideal. Quick, under there! They skimmed the linnet into the deep shadows under the gangplank and watched nervously as the wardens motored slowly past. We'll have to keep our eyes peeled, said Sam. We don't want to be caught. There was a blur of motion, and the linnet rocked gently as someone leapt down into it, right between them. Too late for that, my dear, said a young woman's voice, the tone halfway between a smile and a threat. The woman grabbed Sam by the scruff of the neck and pulled him backwards into the bottom of the kayak, put one knee on his chest, and held a long, sharp, evil-looking knife near his throat. Emily looked at her in astonishment. She was a tall, thin girl with glittering green eyes and a dusting of freckles across her nose and cheeks. She was wearing loose, fog-grey combat trousers, boot-like deck shoes, and a long grey cotton jacket over a green tee. Her hair was hidden under a faded khaki headscarf, and she wore another light scarf around her neck. Hey, said Sam, looking at the knife. Stay where you are, love, said the girl. She had a clear, low voice that Emily found slightly hypnotic. What do you want? Emily demanded, then added, Who are you? Even though she knew already, because she wanted to know what this fierce-looking girl called herself. The girl looked at her with narrowed eyes. I'm Susan Longlost, she said. You may call me Miss Longlost. Someone further back in the shadows snickered. What do you want, Miss Longlost? Emily glared at her. Leave Sam alone. Strangely, she didn't feel that, despite holding a knife to Sam's throat, this girl was a genuine threat to them. Perhaps her recent experiences with the Harrows had taught her what real menace looked and sounded like. Suzy Longlost looked down briefly at the prostrate Sam. If you want your boyfriend back in one piece, she said, tapping Sam lightly on his chest with the tip of the knife, you'd have to do a little job for me. He's not my boyfriend, said Emily. Sam nodded. Suzy Longlost frowned. Best friend, said Emily. Sam smiled. Longlost looked at her, her expression unreadable. So what do you want me to do? Whatever the job was, Emily thought it couldn't get her into any more trouble than she was already in. And if she was successful, then perhaps they'd have the opportunity to talk to Miss Longlost on more equal terms. Good question, said Suzy Longlost. My crew would like to go shopping, but there seems to be a much heavier warden present here today than usual. She studied Emily. I wonder why that is. Emily shrugged. So I need someone to cause a distraction for us, keep the wardens occupied. She raised her eyebrows at Emily. Do you think you could do that for us, love? Emily nodded. If you do, then you get your boyfriend back in one piece. She's not, started Sam. Suzy Longlost jabbed him lightly with the knife, making him yelp. Best not to talk back to the lady with the knife, dear, she said. And that is the end of chapter 14. Good night.